it's Nick here with Nick's Hard Rock CD album review. Hope everyone's doing well. The album we're going to look at today is a well-known album and a hugely well-known band. So let's get into it. This is Bonjovi, Slippery When Wet, their third album, which was released in August the 18th of 1986. I'll just read the tracks out for you. We've got Let It Rock, You Give Love a Bad Name, Living on a Prayer, Social Disease, Wanted Dead or Alive, Raise Your Hands, Without Love, I'd Die For You, Never Say Goodbye, and Wild in the Streets. Now they did release four singles off this. You Give Love a Bad Name, Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive, and Never Say Goodbye. Now those three songs, Living on a Prayer, You Give Love a Bad Name, Wanted Dead or Alive, they are so recognisable. We all know them. We've all heard them on the radio. We've all heard them on everywhere. And, you know, no doubt around the world right now as we speak, somebody's singing along to one of those songs, you know, karaoke. They're just so iconic of 80s, you know, hard rock, and Bon Jovi, of course. It's such an iconic songs. It's actually interesting to think that whilst they were writing this album and recording it, these guys had no idea how big this album was going to be, how this album changed their lives, not only as being popular musicians, but also financially. This made them into absolute megastars. It's just baffling to think that they had no idea that this was going to be so big. And just to give you an idea in regards to, actually I'll just show you a bit. Here's a photo of the band, but this is actually off their next album, New Jersey, which I'll do later on. But there's no real clear photo of the band on the Slippery When Wet album. There is one that there, but it's in black and white. It shows them with washing cars, Slippery When Wet, washing cars with some women as well. But here's a clearer photo. So there we've got John Bon Jovi, lead vocals, Alec John Such. Now I should actually mention on a somber note, 2-3 months ago, Alec John Such, the bass player, he actually died. He had a heart attack. So that's sad news, because he was one of the founding members of Bon Jovi. So yeah, I'm very unfortunate, but his music still lives on in all these recordings. So Alec John Such, bass. David Bryan, keyboards, Tico Torres, drums, and Richie Sambora, lead guitar. So there's the guys there. Yeah, look, this album, it went #1 in Australia, went #1 in New Zealand, went #6 in the UK, went #1 in Canada, went #1 in the United States, and throughout the world it did really well. I'm not going to read them out because there's just so many countries that it did fantastically in. But just to give you some figures in regards to the US, yep, it hit #1, and it actually spent 8 weeks on the #1 position on the US Billboard 200 album charts. You know, 8 weeks, that's unbelievable. And then it spent 38 weeks in the top 5. So 8 weeks in #1, then the rest of the weeks in the top 5. That's just a phenomenal effort. And in Australia here, went 6 times platinum. New Zealand, it only went platinum, which is interesting. Anyway, in the UK, it went 3 times platinum. In the US, it went 12 times platinum. And in Canada, it went 10 times platinum. So all up, this album, and that's not including the other countries, all up, this album alone probably sold between 35 and 40 million albums. I mean, that is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And rightly so, because it's a hugely enjoyable album. And I'm not quite sure if I've mentioned this, but this holds a lot of sentimental value to me, because this was the first album, the first hard rock album that I didn't purchase it. A friend of mine from high school, he recorded it for me. And as soon as I heard this album, he recorded on cassette back then, before CD cassettes. and he recorded it for me, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and so this holds a lot of nostalgia and a lot of nice memories, this album. And as I said before, the songs are so recognisable, and we all know them by heart. You know, we've grown up with them. But here's an interesting fact. One of their songs, well, Living on a Prayer, John Bonjovi, the lead singer, he was actually quite reluctant, and he wasn't going to put that song on this album, Living on a Prayer, which has become a worldwide smash hit. He didn't want to put it on the album. I don't know why, but it was actually Richie Sambora, where's Richie, the guitar player there. He convinced John. He said, "No, we have to put this song on the album. This is going to be a hit." So thank God that Richie Sambora convinced John, there's John there, to put it on the album. Otherwise, we may never have heard of that song. So yeah, that was I'm glad that Richie said that. Here's a little, it's hard to tell, hard to see. A little photo of a live shot. This is off the Slippery When Wet album. Live shot of the band in concert there. So there we go. Yeah, look, this album, from start to finish, is just full of, obviously, the recognisable songs, but it's just full of harmonies and melodies, and it's got the great, massive choruses. It's got two ballads, Without Love, Never Say Goodbye, which are nice ballads. Yeah, they're nice, as Bon Jovi do. They always do the ballads well. My favourite songs, geez, this is hard. My favourite songs, I mean, it's pretty much all of them, except for maybe two songs, Social Disease and, yeah, no, actually just one, Social Disease. It's a good song, but it doesn't stand out for me. But the other 9 songs are just, you know, it's fantastic. I can't rave enough how enjoyable this album is and how good it makes you feel. It's, you know, as I said, it was released in 1986, and, you know, back then, you know, the 80s, it was a party decade, and this just oozes good times, party atmosphere, you know, no care in the world. And these guys, they certainly did it. And, you know, this album is still regarded as one of the biggest selling albums in American history. It's just, it's received awards from, you know, Rolling Stone magazines and all other magazines as one of the best hair metal, hard rock albums, you know, that's ever been released. It's just so iconic. And yeah, as I said, there's one song called Wild in the Streets, and that's it. That's the last song on the album, and it just it finishes the album on such a high note. It's just one of those albums it's got the huge chorus, and yeah, it's just the perfect way to finish the album. And look, I can't rave enough about this. As I said, it holds a lot of sentimental value, and it's just an enjoyable listen. Even though we've heard the songs, you know, Living on a Prayer, Give Love a Bad Name, Wanted Dead or Alive, even though we know those songs off by heart, you know, it's still enjoyable to listen to them, even after all this time. Since 1986, that's a long time. They're still so enjoyable. And if you get a chance to watch the video clips, for, especially You Give Love a Bad Name and Living on a Prayer. It's just, you can see they're all having fun, and it's just great. You know, they've got the long hair, and, you know, it's filmed on the massive stage, and yeah, it's, I can't smile enough every time I listen to this album. It's just absolutely the best. I'll give this 10 out of 10. I don't even have to think about a number. It's 10 out of 10. You can't fault it. you just can't fault it. It's got everything you want. It's easy listening. It's, as I said before, it's got the harmonies and the melodies, and it just makes you happy. It doesn't make you depressed at all. It makes you really happy. So if you want to go back in time and relive some old memories, as I said, when times were simpler and the music was fun and enjoyable, and the big choruses and all that, and the big hair, you got to listen to this again. You got to listen to it, because you can never get sick of it. Never get sick of it. So there we go. Bonjovi, classic album. Supreme When Wet. So until then, I'm so glad I was able to do this, because Bonjovi are a favourite band of mine. But until then, I hope everyone's doing well, and thank you again for all your support and all your encouragement and in your comments. And I'll be back next time. I'm not quite sure. I might do Wasp, a band called Wasp. They're a bit different from Bonjovi, but they're around that same time. So we'll kick off with Wasp next. Anyway, take care, everyone.